We'll get started slowly, just let everybody start to arrive. In the meantime, give me a little hello in the comments. Let me know how the audio is. I'm gonna make some adjustments to the audio. So just let me know how the music is, how my voice is, if you can hear me okay. Let me know how your meditation journey has been going. How did the first half treat you? Let me know. This is the first time that we're doing like a mix of like recorded and live, like live lessons and recorded stuff. So if you've done previous years too, let me know how this year compares. I know some of you guys have returned. So thank you for being here. And hi, Sheila. Thank you for being in the comments section. Thank you for letting me know that it sounds great. The music's not too loud? All right. So, today we are going to be talking about the essential ingredients to your meditation practice. We're going to dive in to that momentarily. I do want to give people still time to kind of hop on. Okay, wonderful. If you have any questions during our lesson today, please feel free to put those in the comment section. I'll do my best to read those as we discuss. Grab a drink, grab a beverage. If you downloaded or printed out your journal, you can keep that nearby as a guide. It looks like we've got a few more of you hopping on. Hello, beautiful humans. Thank you for being here. And again, give me a hello in the comments. That's how I know you're there. It makes me feel like I'm talking to humans rather than a screen. And so I'd love to connect with you in that way. Jane, wonderful. Hi, Jane. I'm so glad to have you, as usual. Perfect. Who else do we have? I see a few more people on, trickling in and out. Just take time, get settled into your space. Different live setup than the past couple of live sessions I've done here on YouTube. It's been a minute since I've done live stuff because I hadn't quite figured out how to do it in the Airstream. And I'm still a work in progress. It's like as soon as I got it really nailed down at the home office, we're back traveling again. And so any feedback you have there is certainly welcome. How are we doing on time? All right. How is day 3 for everybody? How have you been keeping up? Are you keeping up with the meditations? How's the journey going? Give me some feedback there. I've been doing it along with you. I've actually been doing them in the morning and in the evening, which has been nice. Today, I was like a little grumpy. And so the gratitude portion was like a little difficult in the morning when I did it. And then when I did it a second time, it just hit a little differently. And it really relaxed me and let me settle into like a different mood and change my perspective. And I hope the same, I hope that you have the same kind of experiences where it's like when the meditation isn't this zen, relaxed space, right, that sometimes we anticipate or kind of want or desire out of our meditation, when it isn't that, like at the very least, it offers you insight into where you are and that level of self-awareness, right? And then when it's good and juicy, it's just all, and that's always good too. So let's see. Go ahead and pull up your journal page if you have it, the downloaded journal page. If not, everything that we're going to be talking about here will make sense so you're not missing anything, but it might be nice to have that in front of you. It might be nice to take notes on, that sort of thing. Any thoughts and ideas you have about structuring your meditation. So let's go ahead and get started. So, when I first started exploring meditation, first, before I had taken any lessons, I had just, done some reading and thought that it was something that might benefit me, as many of us do. And at first it was like I would, sit down, close my eyes. Okay, maybe I focus on the breath. Maybe I focus on my thoughts. I wasn't sure. I was very directionless. And it was like I would close my eyes and I instantly felt uncomfortable. I wanted to keep my eyes open and I just felt a little silly. And so at the time, I was planning on going to India to learn meditation and yoga and to get certified. And I was going to travel to China and study Taoism. And I was thinking, before I left, I was like, gosh, am I going to be able to do this meditation thing? I almost had a fear of is sitting with my own thoughts for hours on end, like it sounded almost a little agonizing. I was like, uh-oh, here we go. What have I signed myself up for? But then when I got to the ashram, not the ashram, the yogashala was probably a better name for where I was staying, the yogashala. When I arrived at the yogashala and we dove into that practice, it was like, oh, I was sinking deeper into a state of meditation. And with guidance, it was so much easier. And even still, having a guide for your meditation can sometimes help you sink a little deeper into that meditative state, into that juicy alpha theta brainwave state. And so I started thinking okay, what is happening here at this retreat? But I thought it was just, I'm learning meditation. So I spent a few months in India. I dove deeper into that practice, but when I returned, something happened, and it was that I couldn't meditate anymore. It was like I would sit down by myself, and now that I didn't have any guidance, it was really tough. And so I wanted to talk about this with you today because I don't want, after you learn these different techniques, I want you to be able to use them on your own. That's why in your text messages that you're receiving for the meditation journey, each one has a how, right? So that you can kind of get a refresher on how to guide yourself, right? Through those different techniques. But beyond the how of those techniques, there's a structure to your meditation that I was missing when I returned from India and came home and started meditating on my own. And when I started meditating on my own, I would sit down and it was like all the thoughts were coming in. And I couldn't quiet myself. And I slowly started to think, gosh, it must be just me. Like, I just am not cut out for this. Like, I can't do it by myself. And maybe it's not right for me. And so I started to fall out of my practice. But then I was like, no, I can't give up on this because the feeling and the experiences I had with a guide were so profoundly healing and transformational for me that I was like, you know what? There's something there still. And so the important question that I asked myself was, what is happening in the yogashala that isn't happening for me at home? What is my guide doing that I am not doing for myself when I sit down to practice? And the first thing I thought, well, I'm in my house and not in the yogashala. And in the yogashala, there's the smells of the incense. There's the meditation cushion. There's the people there are also in a similar mindset and state of mind. And I was like, okay, so the environment is different. Okay. And my guide would talk a lot in the beginning of the meditation, and then it was silence. And then talk a little bit to guide out, right? And then after my meditation in the yogashala, it was like everybody would get up slowly. Nobody had anywhere to be because we were there for the purpose of meditating. And so it wasn't like, oh, I get up and get on my phone, because to do that would be inappropriate. You would never do that in the yogashala. It would be like rude. So I was like, you know what? I need to start implementing some of that into my home practice. So I came up with this 5-step method that I now use with all of my meditation students or clients. And what this does is help you structure your own guided experience so that you can settle in a little deeper, so that the structure provides you both fluidity within your practice and something to fall back onto. Does that make sense? How does that sound to you, talking about that today? Any thoughts or questions up to this point? I have been on a coconut water kick. It's like all day, all I want is like coconut water. All right, so I don't see any questions coming in, so we'll kind of dive into these 4 parts. So the first part is the initial setup, okay? And this is the ambiance, this is the vibe, this is those little sensual details that I wasn't offering my meditation before. And it's easy to skip, okay? It's easy to skip this step. And it's easy to skip a lot of these steps, but I promise if you do them, and the more you indulge in them, and the more you expand on them, the more your practice will be personal, and it will resonate more with you, and you'll start to feel like this space, this time, is intentional beyond just sitting, close my eyes, it's another thing on my to-do list, right? That's really the problem, is I think that sometimes we approach meditation with the same sort of, and I know I use this kind of phrase a lot lately, but the same sort of capitalistic energy that we do other things on our to-do list. It's like, okay, I gotta sit down, I gotta get this meditation done, let's just do 10 minutes and boom, boom, boom. And it's like, no. Intentional space, intentional time to slow down and really just be. And so you have to take time to move your mindset into a meditative state. It takes time to dive in, to guide you into that, right? So the setup is important. Setup is your environment. So think creatively about what that means for you. Do you light some incense? Do you light some candles? Do you dim the lights? Do you make a cup of tea, right? Do you have a specific space in your house? Do you have a meditation cushion that you like? All these little details that if you don't consider, you rush into the meditation, and then it takes you that much longer to reach a state where the thoughts can settle down, right? Any thoughts on what you might do for your setup to create a space that facilitates that intentional Zen type of ambiance, if you will, right? What can you do? What would be personal to you? And sometimes it changes for me. Each of these steps, the nice thing about having a structure like this is when your meditation, I call it, when your practice gets stale, you can come back to this structure and just tweak it, certain aspects just a little bit, okay? So, okay, I'm going to meditate. So I've set up my space. Maybe you set it up the night before, right? Maybe you create a ritual around your meditation. That was the thing that in the yoga shala, right? Everything was already there and prepared for me. My guide was setting things up. The meditation cushions were out. The flowers were laid. The candles were lit. All of that was already done for me. And it's like, okay, now I have to do that for myself. And it helps, thinking about the senses. Maybe you put on some nice, relaxing music. I don't always suggest meditating with music, but see if that helps you get into that space, right? The next part, right, is, okay, now I'm set up and I sit down in my cushion or I lie down, however you meditate. Okay, what's next? Do I just, close my eyes, meditate, right? It's like, okay, I need something to transition me from the state of mind that I'm in into the technique. Right? So every day of the meditation journey, you are learning a new technique. But what you don't realize is at the beginning of that meditation, the way that I'm talking to you, right? The way that I tell you to guide into your breath, to close the eyes, all of that is to get you to settle in before we begin the technique. So if your meat and potatoes meditation, the primary technique, let's say is like today's day 3, like the gratitude and compassion, let's say that's the meditation you're doing. Maybe your settle in is to focus on the breath. So maybe it's and then maybe part of that settle in is letting the eyes fall closed. And when you start to feel, so you have to have a little bit of self-awareness to notice, okay, I'm settled in, right? So I want to give you just a few ideas of what that settling in can be. Day 1 meditation, the mindfulness meditation, where we were just scanning our environment, coming into a present state of awareness. That can be a settle-in technique. It can also be your primary technique, but it can be your settle-in technique because you go, oh, okay, where am I? Come back into a present awareness. Where am I? How am I feeling in my body? Just a quick little check-in. How am I feeling in my mind? How am I feeling emotionally? Okay. Right. The other one that I like to do that we haven't gotten to, tomorrow we're going to do some breath work techniques. The breath work works really closely with the autonomic nervous system. Similar to your breath, though, is your blinking, right? These autonomic functions that are typically unconscious. When we bring conscious awareness to them, we're better able to tap into the autonomic nervous system and sort of control that state. Okay, so what I like to do is to use the breath and the eyes. You pick a focal point. As you breathe in, gaze. As you breathe out, the eyes close. If you've taken class with me before, this will sound really familiar. Breathing in, the eyes gaze. Breathing out, the eyes close. And you just repeat this until you feel that your eyes are growing heavier and heavier. Again and again, breathing and blinking, until they fall completely closed. And then you continue with that same breath pattern until you feel yourself sinking in a little deeper. And then you choose your primary technique. Okay. So, how are we feeling about that? Let me know in the comments. What have you tried or noticed any of those settle in techniques in the 3 days that we've done so far. Do you have one that you think you would use? Let me know in the comments. And Sheila says that she has a tapestry that's important. Ooh, yeah, I love the tapestry. Yeah, it's about creating an ambience, creating a space. Intentional. Filling your meditative space with things that you enjoy and that, are going to facilitate the right mindset for you. So, the next step is your primary technique. So far, in the 5 days of meditation, you have learned 3 primary techniques. Mindfulness. Day 2 was... No, I can't remember. Now that I'm talking to you, it's like I'm drawing a blank. Well, day 3 was obviously the loving and compassion. Oh, mantra. So, and mantra, I gave you the example of I am, but you can use any mantra. You can use Om. You can use any sound, any phrase that resonates with you, any sort of affirmation. All of those will work for a mantra meditation, right? So, and then in today's meditation we did too, there was the loving kindness mantra, which was that may you be happy, may you be at peace and at ease, may you be safe. I'm mixing them up, but you know what I'm talking about. And then at the end of that meditation, we did the gratitude, which was just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, right? And with that gratitude meditation, you can be like, thank you for my puppies. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coconut water that I've been obsessed with lately. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for my mother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for my father. Thank you. Thank you for my sister. Thank you for the ability to talk to her today. You see what I mean? Just as things arise, you can add them in. It's like a little dialogue with yourself about all the things that you're grateful for. And in between, you're just saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And then if something comes up, you add it on what you're grateful about. Okay, let's get back to, I went on a little tangent there. Let's get back to this primary technique. So whether it be breath work, whether it be mindfulness, whatever it is, what I do suggest to you is after the 5 days of meditation that you pick one that resonated with you and see if you can stick with it, create some consistency for a little bit. Stick with it for a while, see if you can deepen into that technique. Explore it a little further. And as you practice that technique every day, right? See how it changes for you. And sometimes what you'll notice is it starts to be really effective and then less effective. And so what's important is to have a certain level, at least for me, a certain level of self-awareness to be like, okay, you know what? My meditation is feeling sticky. I'm going to change up the primary technique. Okay? So this one's pretty self-evident. This primary technique is what you think of your meditation. It's what you're doing for your meditation that day. Your primary technique can just be sitting. Thoughts coming in, thoughts coming out. Sitting, maybe I focus on the breath. Maybe it's just space and time with my eyes closed. Right? So you don't need to overthink it either. How are you feeling about the primary technique? Are there any questions here? Any questions about the primary technique? You will get, obviously, 2 more days of primary technique. So we'll do the breath work tomorrow, and then you'll have day 5 technique as well. So then you'll have 5 primary techniques in your toolkit. And when you go back through, and if you re-listen to any of the meditations, you'll start to see these parts. Well, the setup, obviously, I can't do for you. But you'll notice there's a little bit of a subtle in there, and you'll notice the primary technique, and then we have a transition out. Okay? So a question I often get is like, okay, well, how long do I meditate for? How long do I meditate for, and how do I end my meditation? Because sometimes people, when they first start meditating, they're worried that they are going to fall asleep, or they're worried that they won't come out of a meditative state, that sort of thing. And that's not true. You won't ever get stuck in a meditative state. So you can set a timer. Insight Timer has a nice meditative bell timer that you can use on your phone. Okay. You can use obviously your phone for timing your meditation. You can use a mala. A mala is a beaded necklace, much like a rosary, that you can use for if you are doing a mantra meditation or a breathing meditation, or even just to count how long you're in a meditative state, right? So for every bead, you hold the bead between your middle and thumb and count. Okay. Inhale, exhale, next bead. Inhale, exhale, next bead. Okay. Or I am, next bead. I am, next bead. And then once you get to the primary bead, sometimes called the Godhead bead, when you get to that primary bead, you know that you've done one cycle, and you can end your meditation there, or you can choose how many cycles you want. So obviously there's a timer when you're meditating by yourself. I suggest setting a timer. If you've got nothing to do that day, don't. Just feel into when you're ready to come out of your meditation. But I don't suggest doing that right off the bat, right? Just when you're first starting out, having a timer helps you know kind of how long you're in that state. Because it's very easy to lose track of time when you are in a state of pure being, right? Time is just a construct, if we want to get a little heady. So, once my timer goes off, or once I complete a round on my mala, or once I've reached a state where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to transition out, right? You have your technique to pull you out of a meditative state and back into a state of awakened awareness, right? And that technique can be the same or similar to your settle in, okay? What we're trying to think of is like, okay, energy is where when I start. Where do I want it to be when I meditate? Like alpha, theta, relaxed, deep state, right? Where do I want my energy to go at the end of my meditation? So my transition out will be different if I'm meditating in the morning than if I'm meditating at night. Because my transition out, right, I either want to energize me or keep me in that relaxed state, okay? So, for example, if you are going to use the mindfulness check-in, right? Okay, notice my surroundings. Notice my body. If my energy in my body's low, maybe your transition out is a more energizing breath, right? So, on the transition out, thinking about what kind of energy you want to carry with you out of your meditation, okay? One thing I will mention is having like a glass of water after your meditation often does help kind of ground you. That is a good thing to try after your meditation. They say traditionally that you aren't supposed to drink before your meditation, especially if you're meditating in the morning. They say don't drink before the meditation, do the meditation first, and then drink water after. Yeah, so being slow and intentional when ending my practice. Transitions out, again, you can use your breath work. You can use the mindful check-in to transition out. Okay, now I'm awake. Here's where I am. Checking back in with my body. noticing how I feel. Notice how I feel if it's different from when I began, right? Notice my thoughts. Notice my emotions. Maybe I take a sip of water. Maybe my transition out is a little bit of movement. Okay. And then we have the wrap up and move forward. Okay. So this is different. This is different from the transition out. The transition out is still a part of your meditation, right? It's still a part of your practice. I mean, this whole thing is still a part of your practice, but what we typically think of like as the seated portion or the guided portion, right, of your practice. The wrap up and move forward is more of a ritual for concluding the practice as a whole. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments if that is making sense to you. Any questions about, before we move on or before I dive into the wrap up and move forward, any questions about the transition out? Any ideas about what you might try? I think there's a pretty significant delay between my end and your end, but I am going to try to keep an eye on the comment section in case you have any questions there. But let's go ahead and keep talking about this wrap up and the move forward. So we started to talk about this in the transition out, but it is to still be considered and to keep in mind for your wrap up and move forward. You have to ask yourself, what energy do you need for the next part of your day? Who do you need to be for that next part of the day? Who do I need to be energetically for the next part of my day, right? And imagine yourself stepping into that version of yourself, right? So what I mean by this is like, okay, if I'm meditating in the morning, let's say, how do I take my meditation and allow what I learned there, experienced there, felt there to guide me into the rest of my day, right? How do I use my meditation, right, to be more mindful throughout the day? Because that's the thing, is it's like sometimes what I hear a lot of people saying is like, great, I meditate in the morning and I feel good for like 15 minutes and then it's gone. And it's like, okay, it's likely because you're abruptly ending your meditation and you're moving on and you're like, great, I feel great for like 5 minutes. And then I go straight back into thinking about what I got to do and moving past and a different energy, right? And it's like, okay, how does it, at the end of my meditation, I can be intentional about the next part of my day so that I can carry some of that energy over. So that means when I finish my meditation, I'm not picking up my phone and scrolling right away. That means when I finish my meditation, I'm not rushing to work, making sure that you have time after your meditation, right? I'm not trying to squeeze a meditation into every little ounce, That's not to say that you can't meditate in real time or that you can't like take a mindful moment for yourself when you're busy. That is great, and you should absolutely do that. But if you really want to deepen your practice and expand your practice, what is going to help you is really giving yourself space and time to appropriately conclude your practice. So, part of that can be treating the wrap up of your meditation as a ritual. So, blowing out the candles, drinking the rest of my tea. Maybe I finished journaling. I like how I'm miming everything to you. So maybe I finished journaling, right? And then maybe I roll up my yoga mat and I put it away and I put my meditation cushion away and I clean my space. When I was in the yoga shala, that's what you do, right? After the meditation, it's like, okay, take a moment to yourself, stretch a little, move the body. Okay. And then she goes around and blows out the candles, right? And then we put things away and somebody comes in and they mop the space, right? How can you do that and provide that for yourself? That cleanup, that wrap up. And then saying, okay, now that I finished journaling, right? Maybe I set an intention for the rest of the day. Okay, I'm going to take, maybe you have an affirmation for yourself that helps you carry that meditation with you. It's personal. So take these steps. Take these steps. What I do with my private one-on-one coaching clients is we sit down with these steps and we create a very personalized ritual. Very, very personalized ritual that becomes the foundation for your, it's grounds you for the rest of the day, because we all know life can get the ups and downs and it can get crazy, right? And so having a really solid practice that you come back to and understanding these different parts is really what will allow you to develop that for yourself. And when it isn't working, to change and tweak. So allow yourself to be experimental about these steps. Try something, see how it feels, and then maybe you switch it up. But have these steps in the back of your mind when you go to your meditation, and think about how you can deepen and expand on each of these and make them more effective for you. Okay? How are we feeling about all of this? Oh, here we've got some comments going in. Julie says that I think I'll use the mindfulness to transition out. That's what I use. I really like using the mindfulness technique to transition out, because I do think it helps me cultivate present awareness. Someone told me yesterday, though, that the mindfulness one was giving them anxiety because they were in an environment that wasn't conducive for them, So this is what I mean. It's very personal. Jane says, in transitioning out, I feel so comfortable with your old mindfulness technique, covering the eyes, looking up. Oh, Jane, I'm so glad that you remember that. Yeah. Yes. So Jane is talking about at the end of my meditation, right? I place my hands face up and I slowly bring them together as like a symbol of balance. I'll put my mic down so I can show you. And then I bring them up to my forehead. I massage the forehead. I draw across the eyebrows and over to the temples. And then I cover the eyes. And I look around. And then I rinse the palms down my face, over my arms, over my chest. Like that. So, I came up with that for myself to end my practice, and I do share it often in my guided meditation classes. So feel free to use that one as well. So thank you all so very much for being here. Jane, it's always nice to have you. I just absolutely adore you. Sheila, same goes to you. You are so lovely. I'm very glad that I got to meet you. And yes, anybody watching this bonus lesson, congratulations on making it this far into the meditative journey of 2023. And what else do I have for you? Anything else? Oh, yes, I do have some reminders. There is a lot of juicy goodness in this meditation journey. So there is the giveaway. There are 2 ways to enter the giveaway. The giveaway, we've got 5 different prizes and then a grand prize comprised. I don't know what word I'm trying to use, but you know what I mean. So there's 5 giveaways. We've got the Namaste Rainbow book, which is the children's yoga book that I've written. And then we have the Yoga Nidra Journey, which you can upgrade to the Yoga Nidra Journey, which will start after the end of our meditation journey. It'll start the following day. You can upgrade for that if you click on bonus level 1. I'll go ahead and put the Yoga Nidra Journey in the comments as well for people who are taking the meditation journey. The Yoga Nidra Journey is $100 off for you. So feel free to check out the Yoga Nidra Journey, which will start after our meditation journey. So that's one of the prizes. And then we've got the Clear Your Mind Interactive Journal, which really goes into my full and complete method on a mindfulness practice. It's interactive. It has video lessons. It is what I offer to my high-paying one-on-one coaching clients, right? To my big VIPs. And let's see. We also have a cushion by Chatra, a meditation cushion. It's not this one, but it is the beautiful Half Moon Zafu. And what else do we have? We do have a coaching session with me, a hypnosis session. And what else? So yes, to enter that, you can share the text messages that you're getting on Instagram, or you can repost the... What is the word I'm looking for? Repost the giveaway post on Instagram. My mind is blanking. Remember that we also have a Facebook group, okay? I'll put that in the chat as well. If you aren't a part of the Facebook group, sometimes I post kind of notifications there. And one of my goals this year is to make that space more of a community space. So if you have thoughts on how I can facilitate that for you, please let me know. More of a community space where we can talk and have more dialogue in the future is my goal with that. So we have the prizes that you can win. We have our Facebook community group. You have the journal. And then we have one more bonus lesson on day 5. So at the end of the day, on day 5, we'll have a community celebration on your journey. I will congratulate you, and I will talk to you about okay, I did the 5 days of meditation. Now what? What's next? How do I start integrating this in my life? And most importantly, I'm going to talk to you about okay, how I sit, I meditate, I do the thing, but how does this really impact my day-to-day? How can I take a meditative state and start really living out mindfulness and making changes in my life, right? So it's more about how do I take the philosophy behind my meditation and make changes to improve my overall well-being, and what other practices can you explore and enter on into. You know what I'm saying. So yes, we've got one more bonus lesson. You've got 2 more days of meditation. Make sure, if you haven't already, to download the journal. There's lots of little goodies within that as well. And I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your evening. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the meditation journey. And remember that if you have any questions, I am here to support you. You can always text me back. I might not see it right away because I get them through the computer, but I will respond back to you. So if you have questions about the meditation, problems, concerns, anything like that, I am absolutely here to support you. All right, everyone. Have a beautiful evening, and I will see you back here tomorrow on YouTube.